Ronaldo's epic 2016 Euros lift and Portugal's 2025 conquest over Spain ignited hope.
صدق أو لا تصدق عانق التاريخ رونالدو عانق التاريخ رونالدو البرتغال لا شك أنه بالنسبة له هذه البطولة.
But at 41 in 2026, can he defy history's odds? Legends fade. But what if Ronaldo's last dance shatters the impossible? Glory or heartbreak awaits. Stay tuned for the moment that could crown the GOAT forever.
Muchas gracias, afición. Este es para vosotros.
Portugal has more raw talent than at any other point in its history, but the central question remains, can this depth finally carry them to victory on the sport's biggest stage? For decades, the team has produced brilliant individuals, yet the balance across all positions has often been shaky. Today, the rise of players like Vitinha, João Neves, Rafael Leão, and Nuno Mendes suggests a new era. Vitinha has taken control of the midfield at club level, dictating rhythm with a level of confidence most players don't find until much later in their careers.
This guy, I'm sorry, Vitinha plays a different sport. When you control the tempo and the rhythm of the game, that has to count for something. People always talk about people that can do step overs and stuff like that and win the game, and I understand that. But Vitinha, the way he controls the game and defends and it's a different sport.
João Neves, still so young, is already recognized for his composure under pressure, while Leão's pace and power on the left wing give Portugal a true game-breaker. Mendes, meanwhile, is already seen as one of the best in his role worldwide, offering both defensive cover and attacking width. This upcoming generation looks like it could finally supply Portugal with answers in areas that were often a weakness in past squads. But talent on paper, it doesn't always translate into trophies, and Portugal's history proves it. Supporters still remember the promise of 2006 when Luis Figo and Deco led a squad that felt destined to lift silverware. They battled through the semi-final, only to be undone before the dream could be realized. That pattern, being good enough to compete but not good enough to finish, has haunted them in every World Cup since. Even with Ronaldo in his younger prime, both 2014 and 2018 ended with disappointment. Over the course of 5 tournaments, the team has managed just one semi-final appearance. This is why the current squad depth feels like something unique. For the first time, Portugal can build multiple lineups without a significant drop in quality. In earlier years, the gap between the starters and the bench was glaring. In 2014, the side leaned almost entirely on Ronaldo for goals, and in 2018, the midfield lacked creativity once their first-choice players tired. Today, Martinez has the luxury of rotating his midfield anchors, shifting between Vitinha, Neves and experienced names like Bruno Fernandes and Bernardo Silva, without losing control. When you place their potential 11 next to older versions of Portugal's squads, the difference is obvious. The 2018 side had holes in fullback areas and central defense, while the 2014 team had far fewer attacking outlets. Now, nearly every position has 2 serious contenders, an advantage not many nations can claim heading into a World Cup. Of course, there is a difference between winning a Euro or Nations League and surviving a month of World Cup football. At the Euros 2016, Portugal needed resilience, some timely moments from Ronaldo, and a system built on structure more than depth. In the inaugural Nations League, they showcased balance over a short stretch of games. But on the global stage, consistency is essential, as every match brings a new tactical puzzle. With Ronaldo approaching the tournament at age 41, the key point becomes clear. Does this depth protect Portugal from over-reliance on their aging icon? The evidence suggests it does. Even when Ronaldo doesn't decide games, Portugal now has the tools to win without him. The question is whether his presence stabilizes a young squad or whether it holds them back from reaching their ceiling. At 41, can Ronaldo still be the man who changes games, or does his shadow hold Portugal back?
I'm just saying that it's part of football, it's part of your career to find the right time to give up your career.
That is the debate now hanging over this squad. For 2 decades, he's been the face of Portuguese football, but time is catching up fast. Every player eventually slows down, and the evidence is already visible. His bursts of pace are shorter.
Ronaldo clearly doesn't have the pace and the stamina over a length of run now that he used to have because he's getting old.
His pressing has dropped, and in long tournaments, his stamina doesn't last the way it used to. In the Champions League during his prime years, he was still sprinting deep into added time, consistently pulling defenders out of position. At recent World Cups and Euros, that energy has dropped, forced into conserving himself for isolated moments, rather than affecting the flow of whole matches. The numbers back it up. Since 2018, his goal return in major international tournaments has been far less reliable than fans grew used to in his peak years at Real Madrid. Back then, he was hitting double figures in Champions League campaigns, carrying games by sheer force of will. Contrast that to the 2022 World Cup, where he was left on the bench in the knockout stage, and the 2024 Euros, where he struggled to score in decisive matches. This is the core of the criticism. Yes, he remains a threat, but is he the kind of threat that still changes the outcome when the level rises? There is another angle though. Even when Ronaldo doesn't score, defenders treat him like a constant danger. That respect can tilt matches. Centre-backs often stay deeper against him, which opens passing lanes and space for Portugal's midfield runners. At 41, this non-goal threat value is real, because very few players carry that kind of aura. Teams overcommit to him in ways they don't against anyone else his age, and that's where the contradiction sits. His statistics may show decline, but his presence still reshapes the way opponents approach Portugal. The 2022 tournament made that contradiction sharper. While Ronaldo sat on the bench, it was Gonçalo Ramos who stole the stage with a hat-trick against Switzerland. That moment showed Portugal could win convincingly without Ronaldo, and even thrive with a more mobile striker. Still, Ramos is far from a consistent match winner at international level yet, which means Portugal face an uneasy balance between proven legend and untested successor. The loss of Diogo Jota only deepens that problem. Jota was seen as the natural partner or replacement, the one whose pressing and sharp movement could offer a different type of forward option. Without him, choice is narrow. João Felix is more of a second striker, not a true replacement, while others lack international experience. If Ronaldo isn't firing across the tournament, Portugal don't have a ready-made plan B. This leaves the national side in a gamble. Keeping Ronaldo front and centre preserves his leadership, his aura, and still some goal threat. But leaning on him too heavily risks dragging the attack into predictability. So, the real battle turns towards the touchline, where Roberto Martinez must decide whether to reinvent Ronaldo's role or risk Portugal being trapped by their past hero. Can Roberto Martinez build a winning formula that uses Ronaldo without depending on him? That's the tactical challenge now shaping Portugal's next World Cup push. Since he took charge, Martinez has put his stamp on the team by focusing on structure and flexibility. At times, Portugal set up in a 1-4-3-3 with a clear back four and 3 forwards, allowing for a stable base in possession. In the deeper build-up, midfielders like Vitinha or Neves drop close to the defenders, pulling opponents out and making it easier to play through a pass. Then, in more advanced phases, Portugal transition into a 1-3-2-5 shape, suddenly overloading the final third with 5 players pressing against an opponent's back line.
But after the arrival of Roberto Martinez, he shifted Portugal from a reactive 4-3-3 style into a flexible 4-3-3 that can morph into a 3-2-5 or 3-4-3 depending on the phase of play. This new approach balances defensive solidity with attacking flair. And unlike Santos' rigid structure, Martinez encourages his players to interchange positions and create overloads in order to make them unpredictable and harder to defend against.
This dual system, it aims to give Portugal control of the ball almost anywhere on the pitch, but for all its promise, it comes with risk.
Dynamism or clear purpose. With arguably the most talented Portugal squad in history, featuring midfielders like Vitinha, Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, and the energetic João Neves, the challenge for Martinez was this: how do you fit all of them into the same 11? His solution has been start João Neves at right back, with the responsibility to invert into midfield and possession, forming a four-man diamond alongside Vitinha, Bruno Fernandes, and Bernardo Silva.
And many critics remember Martinez's years with Belgium. He coached a golden generation stacked with Hazard, De Bruyne, and Lukaku.
In a different stage of the tournament, but I think that's probably the beautiful aspect of this game, that it comes in a moment of the World Cup that I think it shows what this Russia 2018 World Cup has been, a phenomenal tournament with unexpected events.
And yet, they never lifted a major trophy. The charge against him was simple: too many ideas, not enough clarity when the stakes were highest. And now, with another supremely talented squad on his hands, the question is whether his constant changes end up bringing balance or confusion. One clear strength so far is Portugal's midfield, with Vitinha calmly setting the rhythm and João Neves covering ground. Martinez has leaned on players who can dominate possession. That's the biggest shift from earlier Portuguese sides that relied much more heavily on direct attacking play. When the ball moves quickly through midfield, it gives their wingers and fullbacks room to exploit. You can see that clearly in Nuno Mendes' game. He drives high into space on the left, forcing the opposing fullback backwards and creating overlaps that stretch the defense. To learn more on Nuno Mendes' attacking style, consider checking our video on the young talent. In animated replays of Portugal's Nations League run, Mendes' movements opened channels for Bruno Fernandes and Rafael Leao to cut inside, suddenly placing 5 attackers around the box. Managing squad energy may be where Martinez holds an edge over past Portuguese coaches. He's already shown a willingness to rotate, protecting older players while giving younger ones real responsibility.
False CDM and wingers, he played a proper back 3 and 2 forwards, and then added a proper pivot behind the central mids. This created a solid defensive support with a 3+1 diamond, allowing complete freedom for the center mids and fullbacks to advance and create chances forward.
In a tournament where games come every 4 or 5 days, this could prove decisive. Keeping legs fresh in later rounds often decides who makes it past the quarterfinals. But contradictions remain. Martinez wants his side to press high and recover the ball early, forcing mistakes in dangerous zones. Yet, with Ronaldo on the pitch, pressing intensity drops. At 41, he can't close down defenders for 90 minutes, so others have to cover more ground. Hide him and you blunt his strength, use him consistently, and the defensive structure suffers. Martinez's tactical flexibility looks like the answer, but it could also be the mask that disguises declining returns. For now, his system gives Portugal the tools to compete at the very top. Still, the World Cup knockout rounds always punish even the smallest cracks, which leaves an unavoidable question: will this be Ronaldo's last great act, or the moment that tarnishes his status as the greatest Portugal has ever seen? Portugal has never been more balanced, with talent across every position, yet their fate still circles back to a 41-year-old Ronaldo.
The overall theme here is Cristiano Ronaldo a failure with the Portuguese national team?
His final World Cup, it's less about chasing another scoring record and more about whether his presence lifts the collective or holds it back. For fans, that turns the tournament into a story of legacy as much as results. If he helps guide this golden generation, his influence will last far beyond goals. But if dependence becomes their weakness, history may remember it differently. So, what do you think? Can Portugal win with Ronaldo, or must they win without him?